The data on scores of a physics student and the hours of study is given below. From the data, find a simple linear regression functions. Find the predicted value of y when x is 3. Find the coefficient of determination and find the coefficient of correlation.
You will be asked, what are we going to start with? Now, check what we have here. This is how the simple linear regression will look like. You understand? This is how the regression equation will look like. We have the intercept, but we can't know the intercept without finding our the slope. So we have to first determine our slope. Are you get what I'm saying? So for this, I'm gonna calculate every of these parameters. That is the difference between the mean and the values of x. Now, you might want to ask, between the hours and the scores of the student, what is the values, which amount is the value of x and which amount is the value of y? Let me tell you, our x is the independent variable. Are you getting what I'm saying? Please, I want you to take note. X is the independent variable and y is the dependent variable. Now consider yourself as you want to write an examination. You know that the numbers, if you study with more time, if you spend hours studying, the numbers of hours that you take to study will determine the numbers of grade that you're going to have. The scores that you're going to have. I get what I'm saying. So for this now, x is the independent variable because the hours is the independent variable because as the students spent more hours in study. You can see he spent 9 hours here and he had 98. He spent 2 hours and he had 69. So this means that the hours of study is the independent variable because the scores depend on the hours of study. Are you getting what I'm saying? The scores depend on the hours of study. Therefore, x is the hours of study. X is the hour of study, which is the independent variable, and y is the scores. Are you getting it? So, please, do you understand how I knew that the hours of study will be x and the scores will be y? Any variable that depends on another variable is known as the dependent variable. Are you getting what I'm saying? The scores depend on hours. Are you getting it? The higher the hours of study, the higher the scores. Are you getting it? So now x is the independent variable and y is the dependent variable. Now let us proceed to calculate the slope of this data. The slope is given by this formula. So I'm going to have another column in this place because that column will stand for what? Xi minus x, the mean of x, and the values of y minus the mean value of y, all over the value of x minus the mean value of x. So I'm going to have another column which will stand for all those parameters. Okay, so we have constructed the theory table which stand for what? The values of x minus the mean value of x, the value of y minus the mean value of y, and the value of x minus the mean value of x squared. But before I can determine the values here, I need to find the value, the main value of x. Don't forget, from your basic arithmetic mean, the mean value is equal to what? Summation x all over what? N. So the mean value of x is the sum of all the values of x. If you sum all these values together, that is 2 plus 9 plus 5 plus 5 plus 3 plus 7 plus 1 plus 8 plus 6 and plus 2. If you add all those values together, you are going to get 48. So the summation of x is 48. So I'm going to have 48 all over n. N is the total numbers of observation. That is the total numbers of x. That's I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 48 all over 10. That is 4.8. So the mean value of y. The mean value of y is what? Summation y. I'm going to add all the value of y together all over n. So if you sum all this together, you are going to get, this is 48. So the value here, if you sum all the values of y together, you are going to get 778. So for this, I'm going to have 778. So I can determine the mean value of y by 778 all over 10. If you count the values of y, you are going to get 10. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 778 divided by 10, that is 77.8. So I have determined the mean value of x. The mean value of x is what? 4.8. And the mean value of y is what? 77.8. So now I can get the values in this, I can get the values in this column now. If I want to get the values in this column, I'm going to take the difference between the value of x here. For this cell, the value of x is 2. 2, this is 2 minus the main value of x. The main value of x is 4.8. So 2 minus 4.8 is equals to minus 2.8. You understand? So for these cells now, the value of x is what? 9. So 9 minus 4.8, that will 4.2. So for these cells, I'm going to have 5, which is the value of x here, minus 4.8. Don't forget, the 4.8 is what? The main value of x. So 5 minus 4.8, this is 0.2. 5, this also be 5 minus 4.8, this is what? 0.2. Oh, sorry. This is 0.2, you understand? So you see, the reason why how I got these values there is because I want you to understand, when you are solving yours in the exam, you didn't have to put this, okay? So for these cells, I'm going to have 3 minus 4.8. That will give us minus 1.8, you understand? So for these cells, I'm going to have 7 minus 4.8. If you punch your calculator, you are going to get 2.2. So for these cells, I'm going to have 1 minus 4.8 minus 3.8. So for these cells, you can get the values by what? Subtracting 8 from what? The main value of x, which is what? 4.8. So for this, I'm going to have 8 minus 4.8. This will give us 3.2. So for this, I'm going to have 6 minus 4.8. For this, we are going to have 1.2. So for this, we are going to have 2 minus 4.8. For this, we are going to have minus 2.8. So do you understand how I got the value for these cells? We are going to do the same for y. For the value of y in these cells now, I'm going to have the value of y, which is what? 69. 69 minus the main value of y is 77.8 minus 77.8. You understand? I won't be able to show the solution for this one because the value here is bigger. I just want you to understand. That's why I showed how I got these values. Are you get what I'm saying? So ordinarily, if I'm solving in the exam, I didn't have to put this. You understand? So now let us proceed. The value for these cells will be what? 69 minus 77.8. So you are going to get minus 8.8. And the value of these cells is what? The value of y, which is 98, minus the main value of y, which is 77.8. That will give us 20.2. Do you understand? So for this cell now, I'm going to take the value of y that corresponds to this cell, which is what? 82. 82 minus the main value of y, which is 77.8. That will give us 4.2. 4.2. So I'm going to have 4.2. So for these cells, that will be 77 minus 77.8. That is what? Minus 0.8. So that is how we are going to get the values for this column. Are you getting what I'm saying? We are going to take the difference between the values of y that we have. You see, the reason why I put I is that we don't have only a single value of y. These are the values of y. We have more than one value. You understand? So we are going to take each values of y and subtract it from the main value to get the value of each cells. You understand? The next cells is, we're supposed to take the product of, we're supposed to take the product of these cells and these cells. That is, we're supposed to take the product of these cells and these cells. You understand? Because we have the summation of the product of this and this. So the next column is supposed to be the product of these cells and these cells. Do you understand from the formula? So I'm going to erase this. Okay? We have not gotten to this point. I'm going to erase this. So the next cells will be the product of x minus main multiplied by y minus main. You understand? So now let's take the product of these cells, these cells and these cells. For this place, I'm going to have minus 2.8 multiplied by minus 8.8. Do you understand? That is the product of what we have here multiplied by the product of what we have here. So if you punch your calculator, you are going to get 24.64. So to get the value of these cells, I'm going to take the product of these cells and these cells. That will be 4.2 multiplied by 20.2, and that will give me 84.84. 84.84. So for these cells, we're going to take the product of 0.2 multiplied by 4.2. You understand? And if you take that product, you're going to get 0.8. That's 0.84. 0.84. So for these cells, we're going to take the product of 0.2 multiplied by minus 0.8. 0.2 multiplied by minus 0.8. If you punch your calculator, you're going to get minus 0.16. You understand? So these are the values that I got when I take the product of these cells and these cells. You understand? So now let us proceed to the next column. From the formula, we still need the values of what? We need the value of this. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm going to put it the square of the difference between the mean value of x and x. You understand? So I'm going to have minus x bar squared. Don't forget that we have already calculated this. This is xi, okay? We have already calculated this. You understand? I just need to square these cells. Are you get what I'm saying? This is ordinarily without the square. This is the value. Are you get what I'm saying? But I need the square of this. So I'm going to square all the values. You are going to take the squares of all the values in the difference between your values of x and the mean value of y. So for these cells now, I'm going to have minus 2.8 squared. Minus 2.8 squared. 7.84. So for these cells, I'm going to square the value of the difference between the values of x and the mean value of x. So I'm going to have 4.2 squared. 4.2 squared. If you punch your calculator, you are going to get 17.64. 17.64. You understand? So for these cells, we are going to take the square of 0.2. So I'm going to have 0.2 squared. So this will give me 0.04. 0.04. So for these cells, we are going to have the square of 0.2. 0.2 squared. That will also give us 0.04. Do you know what I did? I've already calculated the difference between the mean value of x and x. Are you getting it? So this is the difference between the mean value of x and x. But I have to take the square, because from the formula of slope, I still need to take the summation of what? The square of the values of the difference between the values of x and the mean value of x. So that's what I did. I'm only squaring the values that I have in these cells. Are you getting it? So for this, I'm going to have minus 1.8 squared. You understand? And if you punch your calculator, you're going to get 3.24. 3.24. So for these cells, I'm going to square 2.2. So I'm going to have 2.2 squared is equals to, if you punch your calculator, you're going to get 4.84. 4.84. And for this, the value for these cells, which is what? Minus 3.8. I'm going to square minus 3.8. Minus 3.8 squared. If you punch your calculator, you are going to get 14.44. This will be 14.44. And for these cells, you are going to square what? 3.2. Are you getting it? So I'm going to have 3.2 squared. That will give us 10.24. So for these cells, we are going to square what? 1.2. So 1.2 squared is equals to 1.44. 1.44. You understand? So for these cells now, we are going to square what? Minus 2.8. So I'm going to have minus 2.8 squared. So I'm going to have 7.84. 7.84. You understand? So now I have taken the square of what? I have gotten the values. I have gotten all the parameters that I have here. I have gotten all the parameters. But you know, I still need the summation, because this sign means summation of the product of this and this. So I'm going to sum all the values that I have in this column. Are you getting what I'm saying? So I'm going to sum all the values that I have in this column. If you sum all these values, you are going to get 320.6. So this value is what? 320.6. You understand? So and for these cells also, I still need the summation because this sign is also there, which is summation. So if you take the summation of this column, you are going to get 67.6. So this is 67.6. Please, do you understand how I am taking it one by one? You understand? You have to take, the first step is to determine your gradient, and in order to determine the gradient, that's how I have this table. Are you getting what I'm saying? From the formula of gradient. Anytime you are dealing with statistics, first of all, remember your formula, okay? When you remember your formula, you are going to know the parameter that you are going to have on your table. Are you getting what I'm saying? So that's how I proceed to calculate all these tables. Now, having gotten all the parameters that we have from this formula of slope, we can now proceed to calculate the slope. Are you getting what I'm saying? So the slope is what? The slope, which is di, is equals to the summation of the product of this and this. Don't forget, the summation is what? 320.6. So I'm going to have 320.6 all over the summation of the square of the difference between the values of x and the main value of x. So I'm going to the summation is here, that's what? 67.6. so the gradient of this, if you punch your calculator, you are going to get the slope at 4.74. you understand? So the slope of this data is what? 4.74. Now let us proceed to calculate the intercept. You understand? Because we have gotten the slope, so we cannot get the intercept. You understand what I'm saying? So let's proceed. Don't forget that the slope is given by this formula, that is the mean value of y minus the product of the gradient, which is also known as the slope, multiplied by the mean value of x. You understand? So I can b naught is equals to the mean value of y is what? 77.8. 77.8 minus slope is what? 4.7. 4.7 multiplied by main value of x. Main value of x is what? 4.8. So the slope, the intercept is equals to 77.8 minus 4. Oh, this will be 4. That should be 4 here. You understand? Our slope is what? 4.74. So if you take the product of 4.74 multiplied by 4.8, you are going to get 22.752. You understand? So b naught is equals to 77.8 minus 22.752. That is 55.052. No, 048. You understand? So the intercept of this data is what? 55.058. Now we have gotten the gradient and the intercept. We can just substitute it into this equation, into this regression equation, to get the regression equation for this data. You understand? So I'm going to have the predicted value of y is equals to b naught. B naught is the intercept. That is what? 55.048 plus the gradient. The gradient is what? The gradient is also known as the slope. Okay, don't be confused. When I mention the gradient, I'm also referring to slope. Okay, so the gradient is what? 4.74. That is 4.74x. So this is the required regression equation for this data. You understand what I'm saying? That is the predicted value of y is equals to what? 55. Let me put it here. This is the simple linear regression function that we are asked to find. This is it. 55.048 plus 4.74x. This is the regression equation that we are asked to find. Okay, now the question now proceeds that if the value of x is 3, that is question B. Let me put it here. If the value of x, if x is equals to 3, what is the predicted value of y? If x is equals to 3, what is the predicted value of y? The only thing that you are going to do is that you are going to substitute the value of x into the regression equation that you have already gotten. You understand? You are going to get the predicted value of y when the value of x is 3. So you are going to substitute. So since I know that the regression equation is this, so I'm going to substitute the value of x as 3. So I'm going to have 55 0.048 plus 4.74 into bracket 3. You understand? So the predicted value of y is equals to 55.048 plus 4.74 multiplied by 3. 4.74 multiplied by 3, that is give us 14.22. You understand? So the predicted value of y is equals to, if you add this together, you are going to get 69.268. 69.268. You can approximate to 2 decimal places. You understand? That is, the predicted value of y is approximately is equals to 69.27. You understand? So we have determined the regression equation for this data, and we've been able to calculate the independent variable and the value of the dependent variable y when the value of our independent variable x is equals to 3. If you want to understand how to calculate the coefficient of determination and the coefficient of correlation, you can proceed to the description of this video. You are going to see a link there. Click on that link to watch the video on how to calculate the coefficient of correlation and the coefficient of determination. Thank you. See you in the next class.